Today, we're going to talk about something incredibly deep from Buddhist teachings, something that modern psychology agrees with in a remarkable way. That is, the mind precedes all things. We usually think that our lives are determined by the outside world, our job, our family, our money, our luck. But the Buddha taught something different 2,600 years ago. He said, "The primary force that creates your life is your own mind." Now think about this for a moment. Two people face the exact same situation. One person crumbles, the other grows stronger. So where is the problem? In the situation itself? Or in the way they think about it? That's exactly where modern psychology has arrived as well. Let me give you a small example to understand this. Imagine you're working in an office. One day your boss looks at you and walks away without saying a word. What happened? Someone looked at you, didn't say anything. That's it. But that's where the real story begins. Some people think, I must have done something wrong. Others think, he must have been busy. And others think, he doesn't like me. See that? The outside event is the same, but three different inner stories were created. That is exactly what modern CBT psychology tells us. What controls us is not the events themselves, it's the thoughts we create about them. The Buddha's teaching of Manopubbangama Dhamma points to that very same truth. Now let's go a little further. Do you believe that sometimes our own thoughts create our future? In modern psychology, this is called a self-fulfilling prophecy. Let me give you an example. Someone constantly thinks, nobody likes me. I have no friends. People reject me. So how do they behave? They pull away from others, with suspicion, with fear, and eventually, people actually do pull away from them. Then that person says, "See, I told you so." But what actually happened? Their own thought was what shaped their life. That's why Buddhism says, if the mind is right, the path is right. If the mind is wrong, the outcome is wrong too. Now let me tell you something even more fascinating. Scientists today say, your brain physically changes according to what you think about repeatedly. This is called neuroplasticity. So think about this. What if you get angry 100 times a day? What if you feel hatred 100 times a day? What if you feel fear 100 times a day? What happens? The brain gets trained in exactly that pattern. Just like how a road gets wider when vehicles travel it constantly. Over time, anger becomes your habit. Fear becomes your habit. Sadness becomes your habit. That is exactly why Buddhism says, again and again, protect your mind. Because what you think today is what you become tomorrow. Now let's look at one final point. Have you ever noticed? Some people see only problems everywhere they go. Others see opportunities everywhere they go. Why is that? Is it because the world is different? No. It's because the lens they're looking through is different. In psychology, this is called perception. The way we interpret the world. If the mind is impure, the world appears impure. If the mind is at peace, the world appears transformed. That's exactly why the Buddha didn't first tell us to change the world. He said, change your mind. So when you put all of this together, you can see CBT, self-fulfilling prophecy, neuroplasticity, perception. They all travel down the same road and meet at the same place. And that place is Manopubbangama Dhamma. Your mind goes before your life. Your mind goes before your words. Your mind goes before your actions. So starting today, there is only one thing you need to do. Before you try to change your life, observe your mind, because what you think today is the world you will be living in tomorrow. Now let's go back and look at what the Buddha is truly showing us through this verse. The very first verse of the Dhammapada goes like this. Manopubbangama Dhamma, Mano Cetanā Mano Maya. Or in other words, the mind precedes all things. The mind is the chief. All things are mind-made. Now here, Dhamma doesn't just mean scripture or teachings. It means the words we speak, the actions we take, the results that arise in our lives, all of it. In other words, before every word, there is a thought. Before every action, there is an intention. Before every Kamma, there is a mind. The Buddha points to the mind as that very root. Let me give you a small example. Two people each give the same man 1,000 rupees. From the outside, the action looks identical. Both gave, but one gave out of compassion. The other gave to be seen and praised. So according to the Buddha's teaching, are these two acts the same? No. Because Buddhism doesn't look at the outer action, it looks at the intention that gave rise to it. That is exactly why the Buddha taught, "Monks, it is intention that I call Kamma." Meaning Kamma doesn't begin with the hands, not with the mouth. It begins with the mind. Now let's look at the next part of the verse. The Buddha says, "If one speaks or acts with a defiled mind, suffering follows, just as the wheel of a cart follows the foot of the ox." Think about that. When an ox walks, the cartwheel doesn't make a separate decision to follow. It just follows naturally. In the same way, when someone acts out of hatred, out of rage, out of greed, out of delusion, the results of those actions naturally follow them too. This isn't punishment. This is the law of nature. Let's look at an example. Someone who always speaks with anger, who has a habit of lashing out at everyone. Over time, people pull away, friends disappear, family grows distant. In the end, they suffer in loneliness. Now, was that suffering given to them by someone else as a punishment? No. It was the result of actions that began in their own mind. That is exactly what the Buddha showed us through the image of the ox and the cartwheel. So the greatest message hidden in this verse is this. The first thing we need to change in life is not the outside world. It is our own mind. Because when the mind changes, the words change. When the words change, the actions change. When the actions change, the Kamma changes. When the Kamma changes, the life changes. That is why the very first thing the Buddha pointed to in this verse is the timeless truth. The mind goes before all things. If you'd like to watch more videos on the wonderful connections between Buddhism and modern science, subscribe to the channel. May you realize the truth.